When you finally decided to walk away, not out of anger, but out of acceptance, something inside you changed forever. You didn't slam doors. You didn't beg her to understand. You didn't chase explanations that would never satisfy you. You simply chose peace over chaos, silence over noise, dignity over desperation. And that decision, that quiet exit, was the beginning of her silent suffering. Because peace has a way of exposing what chaos tries to hide. At first, she probably thought you were just another man walking away, that you'd be back once the emotions settled. She thought your silence was temporary, that your heart still revolved around her. But what she didn't understand was that your silence wasn't a game, it was growth. You were done explaining yourself to someone who had already decided not to listen. You were done fighting for space in a story that no longer valued your presence. So you left calmly, confidently, and completely. And that calmness, that's what haunts her now. Because peace can't be ignored. It lingers, it reminds, it stays. When you left peacefully, you left a silence so heavy that it began to echo in every corner of her life. She may have expected you to explode, to chase, to argue. That's what most people do when they're broken. But you didn't give her that satisfaction. You gave her nothing, and that nothing speaks louder than words ever could. You see, peace is power. When you stop trying to prove your worth to someone who doesn't see it, you take all your energy back. You start healing, you start rebuilding, you start remembering who you were before you tried to fix someone who wasn't ready to be fixed. And as you rise quietly, she begins to sink slowly, not because you hurt her, but because she can't control what she lost. She can't replace the peace you brought into her world. Every night when she's alone, when the noise dies down, she'll think about that moment, the moment you stopped fighting, the moment you stopped reacting, the moment you simply walked away, and she'll realize that your peace wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. You chose to protect your energy, to protect your heart, to walk away from what no longer grew you. That kind of strength terrifies people who live off emotional chaos because they can't manipulate what doesn't react. While she's out there pretending she's fine, scrolling through her phone, trying to distract herself, you're finding yourself again. You're sleeping better. You're thinking clear. You're becoming the man who no longer needs validation from anyone, especially not from someone who made you feel small. And ironically, that peace you found within yourself becomes the very thing she starts craving again. She may never admit it, but she'll feel it, that longing for your calm energy, your presence, your consistency. Because deep down, she knows she'll never find that same peace in the chaos she chose. The truth is, walking away peacefully isn't about revenge. It's about redemption. You didn't leave to make her miss you. You left because you finally respected yourself enough to stop begging for what should have been freely given. That's not bitterness, that's clarity. And clarity hurts those who took you for granted because it reminds them that they lost something real. Not because you left loudly, but because you left gracefully. So never underestimate the power of walking away quietly. Silence doesn't mean you lost, it means you've outgrown the noise. And when peace becomes your priority, everything that disturbs it eventually loses access to you. You left peacefully, and that's exactly why she now suffers silently. When you walked away, she believed it wouldn't matter. She thought she could fill that space you left with distractions, attention, and temporary highs. She thought she could drown out the quiet with noise, new people, new experiences, new validation. For a while, it even looked like she succeeded. The smiles on social media, the laughter with friends, the new faces around her, all of it painted the illusion that she had moved on, that your absence didn't affect her. But illusions fade fast when they're built on emptiness. What she didn't understand was that peace can't be replaced, and no amount of chaos can fill the void left by someone who brought calmness into her life. At first, she was comfortable believing she could find another version of you. Someone who cared without being too much, who listened without judgment, who made her feel secure just by being there. But soon she began to realize that most people don't offer peace, they bring distraction. And distractions, no matter how exciting they seem at first, always wear off. Because when the excitement fades and the lights go out, she starts to feel that familiar emptiness again, the same emptiness that used to disappear when she had you. She might still be smiling in pictures, but behind that smile is restlessness. It's the discomfort that comes when you lose something steady, something real, and try to replace it with things that can't hold the same weight. The truth is, she underestimated your value because peace doesn't scream for attention, it doesn't demand recognition. It's quiet, consistent, and grounding, and only when it's gone do you realize how rare it was. She thought she could find comfort in the noise, but noise only reminds her how quiet her heart feels now. And that's when the regret begins to settle in. It doesn't come all at once, it creeps in slowly. Maybe it's when she meets someone new who doesn't listen the way you did. Or when she realizes that no one really understands her energy the way you naturally did without her having to explain it. Maybe it's when she's alone and she suddenly remembers the comfort of your silence, the way you could sit beside her and make her feel at peace without saying a single word. Those moments replay in her mind when the world gets too loud. That's when she starts to see the difference between attention and connection, between company and companionship, between chaos and peace. And that void, the one she tried so hard to fill, begins to grow. Because peace can't be replaced with entertainment. Emotional safety can't be recreated with strangers. What she's realizing now is that she didn't just lose a person, she lost the calm that came with you. The stability, the understanding, the quiet reassurance that she never had to fight for your presence, it's gone. And no matter how hard she tries to replace it, nothing feels the same. But you're no longer chasing her to see it. You've already moved on to better things, peace of mind, self-focus, and growth. While she's searching for what she threw away, you're building what she could never give you, a stronger version of yourself. The same silence she once mistook for indifference has now become your superpower. Because while she's trying to fill the void with temporary fixes, you've learned how to fill yours with purpose and clarity. That's the difference between those who lose peace and those who become it. You left her with emptiness, not because you wanted revenge, but because peace, once gone, leaves a void that nothing artificial can replace. And no matter how far she runs, she'll keep finding that silence waiting for her, reminding her of what she lost when she lost you. She looks like she's fine, doesn't she? Smiling at her photos, laughing with friends, living her best life. But what you see isn't always what's real. The truth is, her silence hides more than you think. Behind that confident exterior, behind those filtered pictures, there's a quiet storm she doesn't let anyone see. Because when you left peacefully, you took more than your presence, you took her emotional anchor. And now she's fighting battles that no one knows about, battles that started the day she realized your peace wasn't something she could replace. At first, she used distraction as her medicine. Nights out, endless scrolling, random conversations, temporary attention, all to convince herself she didn't miss you, but silence always catches up. It shows up at midnight when her phone doesn't light up anymore. It visits her in the quiet moments between laughter, when the world slows down and her thoughts get louder. That's when she starts remembering not just you, but the feeling of being seen, being heard, being safe. The kind of peace you brought wasn't loud, but it was powerful. And when she lost it, she lost more than she understood. See, suffering doesn't always come with tears. Sometimes it hides behind confidence. Sometimes it wears a smile. She tells herself she's better off, but every time she runs into someone who doesn't understand her the way you did, a small part of her heart aches. Every time she's reminded of the way you used to listen, the calm energy you carried, or the way you never made her feel like she had to compete for your attention, that's when it hits her. Regret doesn't scream, it whispers. It creeps in quietly when the world isn't watching. And deep down, she knows she lost something rare, not because you were perfect, but because your energy was real. You didn't bring drama, you brought calm. You didn't demand attention, you gave understanding. You didn't just love her, you made her feel at peace with herself. That's what she's missing now. It's not the texts, not the moments, not the affection. It's the peace, the stability, the emotional safety. And that's something she can't fake no matter how hard she tries. She might even tell herself she's happier now, that losing you was necessary for her growth. But that's what pride does, it hides the pain. She'll keep convincing herself she's fine until one night she's scrolling through her phone, sees your name, and feels that wave of emotion she tried so hard to bury. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's just a pause, a quiet moment where she realizes that the peace she once took for granted now lives without her. And while she's trying to mask her regret, you're healing in silence. You're no longer checking her profile, no longer waiting for closure, no longer seeking validation. You've grown through the pain, turned it into wisdom, and let peace become your shield. The same silence that makes her restless is what makes you strong, because peace doesn't chase, it attracts. It doesn't react, it reflects. Now she's learning the hardest lesson, that peace is irreplaceable once lost. That the same calm energy she once overlooked is the very thing she now craves in a world full of noise. But by the time she realizes it, you've already outgrown the version of yourself that needed her to see your worth. You've become the man who found strength in stillness, and that's something she'll feel every time she looks back. She suffers silently, not because you hurt her, but because your peace became her reminder, a reminder of what true energy feels like and how easily it slips away when you take it for granted. There always comes a moment when silence turns into a mirror. For a long time, she might convince herself that losing you was nothing, that she made the right choice, that she's better off, that you were just another chapter in her story. But as time passes, as she moves through people who can't hold her the way you did, as she faces conversations that never reach the same emotional depth, something inside her begins to shift. The reflection starts to appear, the mask of indifference starts to crack. She begins to see what she couldn't before, not just who you were, but what she lost. You see, reflection doesn't happen when everything is loud and chaotic. It happens when things go quiet, when the noise fades and life slows down. That's when the truth starts whispering. She starts remembering how you always stayed calm when she was emotional, how you handled things with patience, how your energy grounded her. She realizes that she didn't just lose a person, she lost her balance. Because peace, once gone, leaves an emptiness that nothing else can fill. At first, her pride will fight it. She'll try to push the thought away. She'll tell herself that it's just nostalgia, that it's just a moment of weakness. But deep down, she knows better. Regret doesn't show up as guilt, it shows up as comparison. She starts measuring everyone new against you, how they talk, how they react, how they care. And though she'll never admit it out loud, none of them match the standard you unknowingly set. You became her quiet reminder of what genuine connection feels like. The mirror doesn't lie. It shows her that she once had something real, but her ego got in the way. Maybe she played games. Maybe she thought you'd always be there no matter how she treated you. Maybe she confused your patience for weakness. But when you left without bitterness, she was forced to face herself, her actions, her choices, and the consequences that followed. And that's the kind of pain no one sees, the kind that builds silently over time until it becomes impossible to ignore. And while she's standing there staring at her reflection, you're no longer in the same place. You've evolved. You're no longer the man she knew. You've grown through the pain, learned the power of peace, and rebuilt your confidence. You didn't seek revenge, you found redemption. And that's what makes the reflection even more powerful. She can see that you didn't need her to rise. You used the pain she caused as fuel to become better, stronger, calmer. There's something haunting about realizing that the person you lost became exactly what you always said you wanted. That's what she's feeling now. Not anger, not sadness, but an ache that comes from knowing she had it all and didn't value it until it was gone. That mirror she faces every day doesn't just show her image, it shows her mistakes. It reminds her that while she was searching for excitement, she let go of stability. While she was looking for validation, she lost someone who gave her peace without conditions. And now she has to live with that reflection. Because once you see what you've lost, you can't unsee it. That's the real consequence of taking peace for granted. It leaves you with a lifetime of what ifs. But for you, that mirror doesn't hold pain anymore. It holds pride. You can finally look back and know you did your part, that you stayed true, that you walked away with dignity. And that's where the roles have reversed. The one who once looked down on you now looks back at herself, realizing she's the one who lost everything that mattered. The mirror has done its job, and the reflection has spoken louder than words ever could. While she's caught in her silent suffering, trying to make sense of the emptiness you left behind, you're doing something far more powerful. You're rising, not to prove anything to her, not to show the world you're fine, but because you finally understand that peace is built, not given. You've turned the pain into discipline, the heartbreak into focus, and the silence into strength. When you stopped chasing what was breaking you, you made room for everything meant to heal you. And that's where your true transformation began. At first, walking away probably felt like losing. It always does. You go from talking every day to complete silence, from emotional chaos to quiet stillness. That emptiness feels heavy at first, but what you didn't realize then was that stillness is where growth begins. That silence you thought would destroy you became the space where you rebuilt your foundation. You started to rediscover your identity outside of her, outside of the relationship, outside of the pain. And as you began focusing on yourself again, everything slowly started to shift. You started waking up with purpose instead of sadness. You started working out not to impress anyone, but to feel strong in your own skin. You began setting goals that had nothing to do with her and everything to do with your future. You were no longer the same person who needed her to see your worth, because now you saw it for yourself. And that's when everything started falling back into place. See, growth doesn't always announce itself. It happens quietly in your habits, your focus, your peace. The man who once questioned his value is now walking with confidence, not arrogance. You no longer react emotionally. You respond with calmness. You no longer beg for attention. You command respect through presence. That's the shift that makes people who once overlooked you start to notice again. It's not about revenge. It's not about showing her what she lost. It's about becoming the version of yourself that no longer needs external validation. While she's reflecting, you're rebuilding. While she's stuck comparing, you're creating. And this contrast, your peace versus her chaos, is what silently reminds her of what she lost. Because your peace has become your power. You don't post to prove you moved on. You don't chase to fill a void. You simply live fully and intentionally. And that quiet, grounded energy is something she can feel even from a distance. Because true growth leaves energy behind, and that's what she's drawn to now. Your rise doesn't come from bitterness, it comes from clarity. You finally understand that not everyone is meant to stay, and not every ending is a loss. Some are redirections towards better people, better peace, better purpose. Every time you chose to focus on your growth instead of your grief, you stepped closer to freedom. You're not the man she left anymore. You've evolved into someone who no longer needs closure because you became your own resolution. And maybe one day she'll look at you, whether in person or through a screen, and feel that quiet ache. Not because you've changed into someone unrecognizable, but because she finally sees the man she always needed you to be and realizes she no longer has access to him. That's the irony of growth. The moment you stop trying to make someone regret losing you is the exact moment they begin to. Because nothing is louder than the silence of a man who chose peace over chaos and progress over pain. You didn't rise to hurt her, you rose to heal yourself. And in doing so, you became everything she thought she could replace until life showed her that some peace, once gone, never returns. One day, without warning, she'll feel it. That quiet ache in her chest, that sudden wave of nostalgia she can't explain. Maybe it's when she hears a song that reminds her of you, or when she passes by a place you once went together. Maybe it's when life slows down and she's left alone with her thoughts. That's when it hits her the realization she's been avoiding, the truth she buried under her pride, that you're gone, truly gone. And that when you left peacefully, you took something with you she can never get back, your presence, your energy, your peace. At first, she'll try to shake it off. She'll tell herself it's just a passing thought. She'll distract herself like she always does, with friends, with work, with noise. But the feeling doesn't go away. Because this time, it's not about missing the relationship. It's about missing the calm that came with you. The way you made her feel safe without words. The way your silence brought balance to her storm. She starts to realize that no matter what she does, no matter who she's with, that same peace doesn't return. And that's when the suffering begins, not loud, not public, but quiet and constant. She might never admit it. Her pride won't let her. She might even double down on pretending she's fine, posting about how happy and healed she is. But late at night, when no one's watching, her thoughts betray her. She replays the moments she ignored, the times you showed care she didn't appreciate, the days she thought you'd never leave. Now she understands that your silence wasn't weakness, it was strength. That your peace wasn't indifference, it was power. And that losing you wasn't just losing a man, it was losing the kind of presence that made her feel grounded. Regret doesn't always show up in grand gestures. Sometimes it's just the quiet moments scrolling past your name and hesitating, seeing your face and feeling that sting in her chest, hearing that you're doing well and realizing she's not. It's the little things that hurt the most. The realization that while she's still caught up in the same cycles, you've moved on not into another relationship, but into peace. And that peace is something she can't fake. Meanwhile, your life has taken a new shape. You've built habits that serve you, surrounded yourself with things that bring you joy, and created a future that doesn't depend on anyone's presence to feel complete. You're glowing now, not because you're trying to prove a point, but because you've healed. You found contentment in solitude, confidence in silence, and meaning in growth. You no longer need her to feel whole, and that's exactly what makes her realize what she lost. The irony is painful for her. The very moment she finally understands your worth is the same moment she knows it's too late. Because the version of you she once knew no longer exists. You've outgrown the man who needed her love. You became the man who values his peace more than her approval. And that's something she can never have again. So now she suffers silently, not because you punished her, but because life has a way of teaching lessons through loss. She's realizing that not everyone you hurt will hate you. Some will forgive you, move on, and become better without you. And those are the ones you end up missing forever. You left peacefully, and that peace became her punishment. Not through revenge, not through bitterness, but through reflection. Because when peace walks away, regret always follows.